If you happen to miss the broader point in my last 2024 merchandise showcase, look no further than here. Rovio's brand licensing team has been on a heater, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time. Genuinely cool to see such a fair bit of merchandise of the same quality and aesthetic as the ye olde days. They've been selective, let's just say, with regard to who they've given the AB license to, which has created the brand's most recent problem. These new product lines, despite their appeal, are incredibly difficult to acquire, for the average fan that is. You need to be online savvy, have international connections, or in some instances just enough money to burn. But if we're looking at the merchandise for its own merit, not necessarily how it's distributed, we may have found our best hit yet. Rovio has partnered with China-based figurine company PLZDOT, I don't know, it's one of those two, to release a collection of Angry Bird blind box figurines. And as far as I could tell, these were going to be a hit with the fans. These were discovered via some press materials showcasing what we could expect from this line. Brilliant photography aside, these figurines genuinely look really well done, and naturally I wanted to check them out. But as they're only being sold in the Chinese market, you'll have to import them, which is exactly what I've done through the shipping service SuperBuy. And while I was at it, I picked up this Nokia Ovi Store pin set, a PPW Red, as well as these sample 2011 Mattel figures. And man, just look at this pin set. The art is brilliant. Comes straight from those early 2010 days where Rovio had those boards and presentations, and you'd see this artwork plastered in the bottom corner. And of course, I gotta take advantage and combine on shipping and all of this stuff, right? Anyways, tangent aside, PLZDOT claims there are 36 to collect, and we're going to see what buying a full case gets you, and if these are worth going through the trouble for. There are 3 types of figures you can pull: Classic, Gold, and Frozen. You have a 64% chance to pull a Classic figure. You have a 28% chance at Gold, and a 10% chance at Frozen. Let's just suspend our beliefs for a moment because those odds don't actually add up to 100%. Come on, PLZDOT. Yes, Frozen, a callback to Angry Birds Space. Doesn't make much sense to me to omit the entire space flock, but maybe a Series 2 is in the works. This case is a 10-pack, and each box is 5 figures. Based on the odds, this means that with each box, we have a 10% chance at pulling a Frozen pig, the ultimate chase. Which in turn means that you only end up with 1 if you buy a full case. But those odds may not necessarily apply to each individual box. They may be tied to each individual figure. In that case, we would have a 50-50 shot at pulling a Frozen pig for each pull. Multiply the odds by 5 because there are 5 figures per box, right? And if the assortment is distributed correctly, not only should we get 50 total, but we should see each figure from the set. Which scenario will it be? Let's find out how I got on. How exactly do you open something like this? This is all new to me. Looks like there's a place you can potentially cut down here. Though you can clearly see that you can open this part up. Is this part of the flap? Do I have to push the other way? Ooh. Oh boy. Okay, see, now that's a problem. Okay, there's a cut here. There seems to be some kind of line here. Seems to be some kind of line there. It looks like there's supposed to be some kind of flap. Oh, okay. Here we go. So you don't even have to... I guess this might be for presentation purposes. Maybe you can pull that up and make it look all nice and fancy, but here you go. Here's your 10 packs, and supposedly 5 figures each. They're quite big. Bigger than I expected. So let's take a look at one of these. Pull one of these out. Put this in the background for now. So here you go. Here's your PLZDOT Angry Bird box. And it looks like... Ooh. Man, that's quite nice. Look at the packaging. Got a little render of the pig smiling down there. Even shows you the rarities on the back. I'm assuming that some of the text on the back will tell you the odds of actually getting some of these. And you have the full classic set here. So it consists of Red, Bomb, Chuck, Matilda, Hal, Terrence. We got the 3 blues. You got a smiling pig, a pig looking off to the side, scared pig, bruised pig again, another bruised pig. I love seeing the injured pigs in merchandise. We pretty much never, ever get that. You've got mustache pigs and king pigs, all that. You got a king pig with, was that a tear going down the side of his mouth, the side of his face? That's quite cool. So great packaging. I'm liking it so far. And it shows you how much these are individually. Wonder if that's a... If you multiply that by 10, do you get the value of the whole box? Double check that. We're going to show the price of this. Yeah, so basically multiply by 10, you get the whole box. So basically what they're saying is the display box is free. Okay. So this is my first time opening something like this. There's like a little bit of a tab up here. So do I actually have to... Okay, looks like I have to do it this way. Okay, I guess. I don't like damaging merchandise, but then again, we don't want to just see a box, do we? That's not what I'm here to do. Oh my gosh, and they come in another little bag inside. It says PLZDOT, PLZDOT. One of those two. And so this, I guess, this would probably be something they would sell in the U.S. market. They probably wouldn't sell it in the box over here. I'm assuming that's more of a Chinese market thing, though. Then again, I think more companies have been moving towards this box style of packaging rather than the blind bag, but whatever. All right, there's a little extruded cut here, and it's on both sides. I guess that's where they want you to open. Let's use scissors for an exact cut. Okay, and then inside here we have even more plastic. Oh my gosh. Now look at these. And we have our first rarity too. So we're 1 for 1 on pulling rarities. So we have the Minion Pig, just the smiling looking off to the side. We have the injured Mustache Pig. We have Matilda. We have the Gold Chuck. We also have Red. I wonder how common the Red's going to be. I wonder if they made Red more common than some of the other characters, but there you go. There's our first pack of figures. So I'd like to look at everything that we're going to get and then take a look at the figures individually once we're done. Let's see if I can maybe figure out a nice way of opening these without damaging the box too much, because I feel bad. I think you can tell I'm quite anal when it comes to actually keeping my merchandise all mint. I think it would be like me to buy a second full case of these just to preserve. I might consider doing that if I can find a copy. These were not easy to get, I tell you, and they're quite expensive. Also inside you get a little bag of pellets. Keep things nice and fresh. So what else is in here? Something in a bag. Quite sure what this is. Okay, so here's our second pack. And so maybe based on a 10-pack, we'll see. I'm assuming, based on the rates, we're only going to get 1 of the frozen pigs. We might get 3 or so gold figures. But I don't know, it seems like there's a gold figure in each pack so far. So here we go, we got a different assortment this time. I'm just hoping we get 1 of each figure. That'd be awesome. We have the gold red. That's our rarity this time around. We have the Terrence. We have the Bomb. We have the King Pig. This is the injured King Pig. And we have the Smiling Pig, this time with the non-side-eye facial expression. So there you go. If you're trying to approximate the size of these things, I'd say they're kind of in between the size of an MZB Tiny Topper and a Mattel figure, if you're familiar with both of those. They're not terribly big, but they're not tiny. Okay, we have our third one. And see, I hate this style of packaging. Just put folded cardboard, tuck it inside so I can just easily pull a tab or something like that. You don't have to make it so it's adhered together like this, because this is just annoying. You bring pain to my collector heart when you package merchandise like this. So here we go. PLZDOT, pack number 3. So yes, it looks like you're going to get a gold figure in every single one. I mean, we're only... Oh, actually got 2 this time. Wow. Oh, and we got a frozen pig. Alright. As the kids say, peak. Okay, let's go. So we got another Terrence. We got another side-eye smiling pig. We got another gold red. Here's our little frozen pig here. This is the injured mustache pig. Now this is quite cool. I love seeing the frozen pigs in Angry Bird merchandise. I can't think of too many instances of them off the top of my head. Of course, you have the Commonwealth samples, and you have the infamous Mattel figure. You got some of the MZB Tiny Toppers, and here is your king pig. This one appears to be sleeping or injured. His eyelids are almost completely shut, but you can see his pupil in there, too. Now, that's pretty sweet. I like King Pig in the gold because it fits with his crown, right? Those are great. These are hard plastic, by the way. They're not rubber. Okay, we have number 4. Well, that was the best one yet, in terms of opening. Ease of opening. Okay. Here we go. Let's see what we got this time. See, another 2 gold figures. We're getting one pretty much every single time, and when you get the blues, they include all 3. Now this is amazing. I wish we got this in more merchandise. Man, I can really only think off the top of my head of only one example of this ever happening before. In the King Pig's Castle Connect set, which I actually have in the background, you get 3 blues that you can stack up, but this is amazing. When you buy a Commonwealth plush, you don't get 3 blues. When you buy a Mattel game, you don't get 3 blues. Most times when you buy Connects, you don't get 3 blues. Buy Commonwealth figure, you don't get 3 blues. MZB Tiny Topper, you don't get 3 blues. You get 3 blues here, because they should always be together. Jay, Jake, and Jim, right? Now, they're all identical. They don't have different facial expressions or anything like that, but I'm guessing this also means if you get the gold blues, you will also get 3 of those as well. Oh, that's amazing. I love that. And here we have the gold Hal. First time seeing the Hal figure. That's quite cool. It's the chrome design, not the pre-chrome. I think these are all going to be based on the chrome designs of the characters. You can see that in the pigs. We have our first Chuck, looking very dandy. We have another gold king pig, but this one is not with the almost closed eyelids. This one is just a neutral expression. So we're getting different ones, which is nice to see, and we also have the injured minion pig with the tongue stuck out. How about that? Now that's pretty cool. I think the pig's color is a little too dark. Almost looks like the kind of Slingshot Stories style of animation. Pigtails. It's not quite the color that I would associate with the game. So let me see these. These down here. Alright. And here we have our 5th pack. So far, I'd say, if things continue, I think I have gotten my money's worth. And so because these are blind boxes, I guess if you walked into a retail store and found a display box full of these, which, by the way, they do have display boxes. This is more of like a giant case full of them. I guess there's 2 different ways they're shipping them. But you couldn't feel out which figures you're going to get. Which is kind of a shame, but okay, we got one more blue in here. Come here. There we go. So once again, we got the 3 blues. Again, very nice to see. We got another red. And we got an injured Minion Pig with only 1 bruised eye this time. Smiling. Quite like that. These are going to be great for photography for people who like doing that. We have our Golden Matilda. First one of those. She's looking quite angry here. I do like that. I like it when they put the angry face expressions on the birds. Heck, I like it when you get multiple different facial expressions, which is part of the reason why I quite like the pigs for this series. And here is the King Pig, the frozen King Pig. This one is of the injured render of the character, and it's got a transparent crown. It's like a green-blue color, almost yellow in hue. That's quite cool. Oh, these are great. Now, these things are not transparent, the figures themselves, but they almost look that way. Quite cool. These will be great to pair with the plushies, too. Okay, that's another box down. Let us continue on to the second half. So far, my only gripe is the packaging. The packaging, you have to tear into it too much to actually get to the merchandise. It should be far easier to get to, but then again, that's the case with most Angry Bird merchandise. There's not much I can think of where you can just easily remove it and put it back in. Mattel games are kind of nice like that, but even the figure packs, you can't really do that because they're on a blister. It's my issue. These companies should be aware that you're going to have collectors out there who are trying to acquire a lot of this stuff and preserve it. They should be more cognizant of that. Alright, we have Hal. So we had the gold Hal last time. This is the just standard Hal. Looking very nice. I like the colors on him. Anyways, here we have the gold King Pig. Now this one is different from the other gold King Pigs that we've got. He's only got 1 eye bruise this time. And I think that's what that's supposed to be. I think King Pig is the one with the most gold figure variations. He has 3 according to the box. Mustache Pig and Minion Pig only have 1. I think there's 1 for each of the birds. It's kind of the same way with the frozen ones as well. There's 3 different King Pigs, interestingly. So, I guess if you're going to get a rarity, it's usually going to be a King Pig. Odds are much higher of getting him, right? Gold Terrence. Easily recolor that into a Tony or a Space Terrence, evidently. We have almost a neutral Mustache Pig. It's got the teeth down there. And we also have another red. But red so far, he's the most common one, right? Just looking at what we got, we got 3 reds so far, so. I don't like that. Don't make red the most common one, please. It's not funny. Not laughing. I've seen enough of red in merchandise. We need more character diversity. But these are pretty great. Not complaining. Just complaining about the packaging. That's all. Okay, here we go. Oh, see, we got the gold blues this time, and I can confirm that you do get 3. Well, would you look at that? Now that is pretty sick. I love how they have the cross-eye facial expression. All these look good. These look really good. These China market toys never seem to disappoint. At least in my experience. We have the gold bomb as well. Another Hal. The scared Minion Pig. I do like how these are pretty much ripped straight from the game. Just the color is the only thing that's off to me. And the King Pig. Completely bruised. Almost killed. Or popped. Damaged. Yeah. Can't really say King Pig has been killed. That's not a YouTube-friendly word now, is it? Alright. We on to number 8 here. Oof, this one's sealed pretty tight. Okay, there we go. Right. Okay, this time we are going to get another Frozen figure. So I think, I don't know, I'd have to do the math myself. I am a math guy after all. But this feels like I'm getting more than I should be. So here we have another King Pig, so we got a King Pig before, right? But it's different. This one is the nearly pop variation. Same thing, it's got the transparent, translucent crown. Got another red, another Chuck. We got an injured Minion Pig. And we got another gold Terrence. So getting plenty of gold figures. You're pretty much guaranteed to get one every time you open one of these, so happy to see that. Not that the gold figures are all that inspired. I do like the idea of the Frozen ones better. It'd be cool if they did different designs for the limited edition figures, like Space, but then again, I'm hoping we get a Series 2, or at least a different type of series, because they did call this box a classic assortment, right? Makes sense to me that we would get something different in the future. So hopefully this isn't it. But if this is it, it's not bad. It's actually quite nice. Breath of fresh air in terms of new merchandise. We got another Frozen figure. Oh, and this time we got the gold mustache pig, too. Just the neutral expression. I think that's the only one you can get, right? So we got all 3 of the Frozen King Pigs. I am very pleased to see that. So at least in a case, they are varying the assortment, it seems. Got another red. Don't like to see that. Matilda. And, oh, awesome, we got the sad King Pig. Reminds me of the Activity mode in Angry Birds Classic. That's awesome. It's a very obscure render of the character. Okay, and we're down to the last one. So I think we got 4 Frozen figures. There's only 1 left, right? It's just the scared Minion Pig. So hopefully, that's what we're going to get in here. It'd be very clutch if we did get that. And then I would be able to confirm that you pretty much get a complete set going into one of these. Oh boy, see now look at that. Awesome. Did I call that or what? Okay, so I can confirm, we'll have to double check when I go look at the figure assortment, but it looks like if you buy a case, you're pretty much going to get everything. Got the standard bomb. Got the gold Minion Pig as well, so that completes our golden set, I want to say. Again, I'll have to double check. I don't 100% remember everything that we got, but if it's not complete, it's damn near close. Another red, so be on the lookout for reds. At least it's a nice red figure. I do want to point out that he does have his darker feather spots on him. You don't see that too often on merchandise. Got King Pig, the smiling, happy King Pig. He's very happy that he has stolen the eggs there. Yeah, the Frozen Pig's awesome. So, there you go. That is our PLZDOT complete unboxing and assortment. So, let's see what we got. Round everything up together and assess whether we got a complete set. And then we'll try and compare to some figures of Angry Bird past. I think that's a pretty good idea. So awesome box. This presents very well. The figures look to be very high quality. So far, I'm into them. Okay, we are back, and we are going to tally all these up together. So, got the handy-dandy checklist right here, so we can see and judge based off that photo whether we did get everything, which I'm hoping that we did, and I think that we did based on the unboxing and just my memory alone, but let's verify that claim. So, of course, we're going to start with the classic birds. We got red. Of course, I mean, if we didn't get a red, that'd be crazy. We got the blues. Indeed, 3 of them. We got Chuck. We got Bomb. We got Matilda. We got Hal. And we got Terrence. So, no surprises here. We did get the complete classic bird set. I was hoping we would get that. So, can verify, buy a whole case, you're going to get all of the birds that are included in the set. And as for extras, my case had a whopping 5 reds. 5 of them. So you're going to get 6 reds total, which is quite disappointing to me. I would like to see more diversity here because, just looking at what I have off to the side here, it looks like you're only going to get 1 extra of each one of the other birds. So that means 1 extra of the blues, 1 extra Bomb, 1 extra Chuck, 1 extra Matilda, 1 extra Terrence, and 1 extra Hal. So that's what you're going to get. So 2 of each one of the other birds and 6 reds. Not great there, to be honest with you, but at least you do get 1 of each figure. Now, the pigs. The pigs should be interesting because they make up a majority of the set. Now, I would hope you would get a bunch of extras of the pigs, but because there are so many to begin with, I don't know, I have my doubts. But let's see if we did get a complete set. So, we start off with this kind of smiling minion pig. He looks like a happy fellow. Looks like that one render that they use for Ross sometimes on Bad Piggies merchandise, or at least a little bit of merchandise that exists for that. And so here it is. Got the 3 teeth. That's what I would consider the standard minion pig of the set, but alright, what else we got? We got the minion pig looking off to the side, also smiling. So that is this guy. You can just tell by the pupil placement. Looks pretty similar to the first one. And then we have the scared minion pig. This one should be pretty easy to identify in my little pile over here. Yeah, here he is. That's a great one. I think we have any scared pig merchandise out there. And if there is, it certainly isn't much. Alright, then we have the injured minion pig. This one has 2 bruised eyes and a tongue sticking out. Now, I think that's not this one. This one, if you look closely, the tongue is actually facing downward. So there are actually 2 of them. This one, the tongue is facing to the side. Now, otherwise, they look pretty much identical. We got the injured minion pig, but with only 1 eye bruised. That's this one. There's only 1 of them like that, so. Now, for the mustache pigs, there should only be 2. And indeed, there are. We have Mustache Pig with the teeth below his mustache. And we also have the injured one. I wish the Mustache Pig did not have those teeth underneath. It would look a little bit better just as kind of a neutral render, but what are you going to do? That's what they did. They can easily change that, though, if they did another series. These are just printed details, after all. And so then we have 4 different King Pigs. So we have this King Pig, which is just kind of the happy-go-lucky King Pig, smiling at you when you fail a level, or when the pigs win a level in the activity mode. Alright, then we have the crying King Pig. I mentioned the activity mode because this one comes directly from that. That's the only instance I can remember a crying King Pig from, is when the pigs lose in activity mode. Then we have the injured king pig, but with only one eye bruised. He's still smiling despite it. What a cheery guy. And he's even smiling to the end when he's almost popped with both eyes bruised. So we did get a complete set of pigs. Once again, that's great to see. Now, if you're wondering about extras, you're only going to get one. And it's of the kind of side-eye minion pig. So I guess they consider this second minion pig here to be the standard minion pig. So you're going to get an extra of that, at least if your assortment is identical to mine. But you will also get one of every type of pig that they show on the box. Very pleased with that one. Now, when I say one of each and every pig, that's it. You're just getting one. You only get one extra pig. So, I wish you would get more. You know, because I kind of want to deal some of these to some of my friends here and there, and I know they're going to want bad piggies, but if I want a complete set myself, well, I don't really got much to spare at this point. So that's a bit of a shame. So let's go take a look at the rarities here. So these rarities, let me see. So let me look at the numbers again. I said them at the beginning, right? But let me just make sure I'm getting the correct numbers here. Okay. Looking at the odds, we had a 64% chance to pull a classic figure, a 28% chance to pull a gold figure, and a 10% chance to pull a frozen figure. So I guess if I'm doing the math on this, you basically have, you know, there's a 1 in 10 chance of pulling a frozen figure. So that means every 2 packs, you're going to get a frozen figure. So that makes sense. 20% chance at a gold. So that pretty much is, yeah, you're basically guaranteed to get one in every single pack at a 20% chance. So these odds do make sense to me so far. Because, well, let's take a look at the rarities, right? Okay, let's go in order again, if I can. If I can find, we gotta find red. Let's see. What do we got? Okay, here's our red. Here's the gold red. We got the blues. Very nice. You still get 3 of them, even if you get the gold. We got Chuck. We get Bomb. Once again, these are based on the chrome sprites of the characters, so you're not going to get the spot on Bomb. Then again, I don't think anybody was expecting that. We got the Matilda. We got the Hal. And we got the Terrence. Okay, then for the pigs, there should only be 5, but there will be 3 king pigs. So, king pigs are easy to identify. We have, let's do those first. We have the neutral king pig, with no bruising. We have the king pig with only 1 eye bruised. I guess this was supposed to be the bruised eyes don't really come across as well on the gold figures, but they're there. And then, of course, you have the one with the 2 eyes bruised. And there should only be 1 minion pig and 1 mustache pig. And these ones are completely neutral. These are expressions you don't get on the others. At least on the regular variations. So you just have the minion pig with no mouth printing. And you also have the mustache pig with no mouth printing. So some interesting decisions here by PLZDOT on the facial expressions of some of the pigs on these limited figures. Let's get all these out of here. And as for any extras, do you get any extra gold figures? You indeed do. But of course, you get an extra gold red. You know, no surprise there. But interestingly, the other extra gold figure is not a pig. It probably should be. It is Terrence. And I'm wondering if this one varies based on your actual box. Wonder if you will get a different extra gold figure with a different box. You'll have to let me know if you buy this case. And then as for the frozen pigs, we got 5, and each one was different. So we have 3 different king pigs. Grab all these. We have the king pig with the 2 bruised eyes. Also, I have to note too, are the crowns damaged too? I think the damage is also reflected in the crown because one of the spikes over here is kind of drooping off to the side. Oh, that is great detail, and we'll see that when we open them up. we have this King Pig with only one eye bruised. Then we have the happy King Pig. I feel like the ones with the more generic facial expressions are going to be pretty sought after for those who want to display stuff like this, but for the frozen pigs, you really only got one option, so I guess these will all be pretty valuable. Got the mustache pig, one eye bruised, and you have the scared minion pig. So once again, hold on, dropped it. There you go, scared minion pig. So once again, you don't have much diversity when it comes to the facial expressions for the non-King Pig characters, and interesting choices for the ones that they did do. But we did get all 5, thankfully. And no extras, to no one's surprise. So the pull percentages that they do advertise are indeed correct. And I'm starting to wonder if the box itself is predetermined. If each one of these boxes, you will get the same figure assortment, no matter what case you buy. And if it's random, if each box is a different assortment depending on which case you buy. But even if that is the case, I'm assuming that each case will have the same assortment that I got. If not, maybe a little bit different. It is very nice to see, and I probably can confirm here, or at least I can confirm based on what I have on the larger sample size for this. If you do buy a 10-pack, like I did, you will get every single figure in the set. So if they do a second series, I'm all in. I will buy another 10-pack just like this, and I will get every single figure. I can be rest assured of that. So that's awesome. And also the packaging too, once again, I just have to admire that. I love how it has like the pause button up in the top, the restart button, the score. You know, the fonts could be a little bit more classic, but what are you going to do about that? So, great box. And the figures look great by at least sheer inspection, even though they're all inside plastic bags. Can't wait to get these out. And, well, let's go ahead and do that, shall we? I'll get each figure out of its plastic bag, and we'll go take a look and do a little mini review on each one. Give some of my thoughts. This will be pretty fun. Let's go take a look. Okay, so it is review time. So what you see before you are all the PLZDOT Angry Bird figures, at least the classic ones. We'll get to the rarities later on, but I would like to compare each and every one of these figures to something relatively comparable from years past. So we'll be looking at K'NEX, Mattel, Commonwealth Collectible Figurines, and even the MZB Tiny Toppers. So I would like to start with red, because that's of course who you start with. Let's do the focus adjustment here. This is all going to be on the fly. I think it's going to be the closest I can get here, at least in accordance with my focal length. So here is the PLZDOT red. So as far as I can tell, there are actually 4 different plastic molds on this figure. The beak appears to be separate from the body, which appears to be separate from the underbelly feathers, which also appears to be separate from the tail. I don't know if the tail's inserted. This could be a painted piece, but it doesn't look that way to me, because you would have seen imperfections on something this small unless the quality control is just that good, but it appears that the quality control may just be that good. This also could be dual molded as well, but there's clearly a crevice around the underbelly here, which implies that they might be separate elements, but this could also be painted. But if their quality control is that good, hats off to them. That's pretty good. So the eyes are not 3D on this one. These are just printed, but that allows them to do all sorts of different wacky facial expressions, and hopefully if this series continues into a Series 2 and a Series 3, we'll get more of that. And of course, this one has the darker feather spot detailing, always a nice thing to see on your reds, because some of these other figures do not have that. So let's see what the other figures from years past had to offer. So here is the Commonwealth Collectible Figurine red. So this one is perhaps the most stylized of the ones that we're going to look at. It does have the darker feather spots, even around the eyes on this one. Does the PLZDOT have that too? Actually, it does. Very faint, but they're there. So this one is giving you that kind of dead stare look. Commonwealth was well known for that at the time. Extruded tail feathers, underbelly, nice beak, just a great mold. This one is a very hard plastic. It's the same with the PLZDOT. There's no flexibility here. You can't squeeze it like some of the other ones that we're going to look at. Yeah, I adore this figure. These ones have the most charm to them for sure. Quite heavy. These are definitely the biggest ones that we're going to look at, but the only downside to me is that you have to look at this on the bottom, these two areas. So you have this kind of embossed, I guess, licensing on the back. It says Rovio, manufactured by Commonwealth, made in China. And on the bottom, you have all these date codes, which Commonwealth likes to put on their merchandise, right? This one is a K11 production run, so that dates this particular figure back to November of 2011. So I take it this is not the updated mold. There are actually two different molds for these Commonwealth collectible figurines. They updated them at some point. I believe if yours says G12 or something like that, it's an updated one. HK101, that's the factory, blah, 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 blah. We're not here for Commonwealth, we're here for PLZDOT. But not right now, because here we have the 2012 Connects Red. I don't know which set this particular Connects Red came from, but you have a separate inserted detail for the eyes and the eyebrows, also with the beak as well, but the downfall of these figures will always be the backside, because they have to put this extruded cut in here to ensure you can actually fit this character in the slingshot. I have a bunch of Mattel games, not Mattel, the Connects games in the background, the Mattel's over here. I should pull out a slingshot. I probably should have done that, but nah. You have the underbelly feathers as well. These figures, of course, you can split these apart. They're two different pieces. It's got a hard plastic interior and a rubbery plastic shell. Head feathers, and it also has very faint but visible darker feather spots. This is a great figure from the front, not so much at the back. You don't even get the tail feathers back there. And once again, you have this embossed, made in China, Rovio Connects. Just licensing jargon. You don't see that on the PLZDOT, so point for them, I guess. Okay. And then next up, we have the 2012, 2013, kinda, I think early 2013, Mattel Red. So this is the majority of Mattel Reds will look like this. There are variations, and I actually do have a variation like that. You can maybe see it in the background. I have a 3-pack back there with the Helmet Pig, the Matilda, and the Red. It actually does have the more detailed underbelly feathers, but this one is I believe this is from Mega Fling, could also be from Advent Calendar, could also be from Western Roundup. I mean, this figure came in pretty much every Mattel game. Also get it as a single pack. So this one has tail feathers as well, but they're not jutting off the character here. It still is 3D, but I guess this is like this so you can actually place it in the slingshot with little interference. It has a hole in the bottom because this is more of a rubbery plastic. Well, you can squeeze it. It's able to deform a little bit. It's not hard plastic, but the downfall of this one, for as great as it looks, it's very solid with very sharp printing and great detailing, dual molding and all that. You just don't get those darker feather spots. That is a huge negative on this one. It just looks like there's something missing to me here. And that is 100% it. Great figure, though. And then the one that no one talks about, at least from my perspective, is the updated MZB Tiny Topper. There are older variations of this that look like utter garbage, but this one, this is the late 2012, 2013 release. This one looks great. I mean, it's basically just a small version of the Mattel figure. If I put them side by side, I think you can really see that. They just downsized the Mattel figure. But they did upscale the whole. Now that is because you are supposed to put this little figure on a pencil. But it does have 3D detailing back there. Great printing. It's nice and sharp, the printing. It's not, you don't have, the paint isn't going onto the body. It's well applied, good paint application. You do have to deal with this on the bottom once again, this Rovio MZB China. I guess that's just what you have to put on these figures, but this one looks really good. It's quite presentable, and it is especially good considering how tiny it is. This is the tiniest figure we got. It is quite small compared to the PLZDOT, which let's compare the PLZDOT to each one. terms of size. It is very similar to the Kinects in terms of scale. Maybe a little bit smaller. Here's the Mattel. Once again, a little bit smaller. And then you have the Commonwealth collectible figurine. Once again, quite a bit smaller. But overall, I think the PLZDOT holds its own quite well. I just wish the eyes were actually 3D, but then again, that's going to give them all sorts of possibilities as it relates to different facial expressions. So I think that's going to be a good design quirk in the long run. Great figure. Big fan of this one. And let's go check out the blues. So they, right off the bat, when I open them, they to me have one big problem. Now, if I just set it down, you can see what that problem is. So I just cannot for the life of me get these things to stand. Their base is just not flat enough. And I think that's something they should correct, because it would be very nice to display these upright with all the rest of the figures that can. But taking a look at the figure itself, it's got many of the same design details as Red. There are no differences between the three. They have that 2D printed eye detailing, the separate beak piece, separate tail piece, which 2 tail feathers, game accuracy there. I maybe would like to see different facial expressions on them, but you don't really see that in the game when you split them into 3, so that works for me. Now, comparing the tones of the blues, I mean, is there any sort of variation to the blue color? Sometimes run into that a little bit. I don't know if it's just because of the lighting on camera, but to me, there's not much of a difference in person. I mean, maybe this one's just a little bit darker than this one. But I don't think it's terribly noticeable. You're going to get some variation when it comes to manufacturing these little figures. I just can't believe how precise the detailing is considering how small they are. And well, I must say again, I don't think I mentioned this yet, but these are scaled for game accuracy. So the blues are going to be the smallest, and of course Terrence is going to be the biggest. I don't know if it's 100% in line with the game. I don't think the blues are this big compared to Terrence, but there is at least a size difference. So it's not like the Commonwealth collectible figurines where everything's going to be the same size. So, well, on the topic of them, I guess we can take a look at those two. So, like here is the collectible figurine Red. It is a bit bigger than the blues, but I mean the size difference isn't that drastic. So here's the blues, or at least one of them. You can say whichever one this is in your estimation. So it's looking off to the side. It's got the printing on the bottom once again. K11, same production run. This is a very great figure, especially compared to the plush that they did, because the plush had 3 tail feathers at the time, kind of had that dead stare look. Pupils are a little small in this, but I think that works with the game. It looks like the game to me. Just a bit stylized, and I think that's what people appreciate about these figures. They just have a bit more flair to them compared to the others. Once again, hard plastic. Got the embossed printing on the back, but it looks good. And then we have the Kinects figure. The Kinects figure is quite unique as it pertains to the whole Kinects line as a whole, because it does have a, well, hole in the bottom. It also has a little bit of an extruded cut alongside, which is supposed to pair up with this peg and the feathers on his head. Because if you happen to have multiple of these Kinects figures, which I do for this demonstration, wish I had 3 out of the box, but the rest of mine are actually in the boxes back there, and they're sealed, so I'm not opening them. But you can stack them. If you have 3, like in the King Pig's Castle set, which is off to the left back there, you can stack them up, make them look like you see them in like Angry Birds tunes and the like. This is a very nice figure once again, with that separate piece for the beak and the eyes. Of course, you do get the back, which is very disappointing, but that's just how they designed the playsets to work. So you have to deal with that. The Mattel figure is really nice, especially the 2012 version. The 2013 version, the color is just a little bit too pale in my estimation. But the 2012 one, I think this one is up there with the best blue figures that we'll look at with respect to accuracy in the game. Got that cross-eye look. 2 tail feathers around back. Just very well executed. And I wonder what a 2011 Mattel blue would look like, eh? And then once again, you have the underrated one of the bunch to me, which is the MZB Tiny Topper. This thing is great, considering how small it is. I think this especially works if you're trying to put a bunch of these different figures together and scale them. Even better than what PLZDOT did back there. This one has the embossed detailing on the side, interestingly. It's not in the back. So not really symmetrical there, but that's okay. Just put it wherever they could. Paint application isn't as great on this one. There's a little bit of an area around the beak between the eyes that should be white, but you can see the blue through there. And the blue color isn't exactly right on this one. It's a little bit too bluish gray, but you still get the cross eye and, of course, the tail feathers around back. These are nice and rubbery and squishy. These ones are fun. Childhood favorite of mine. And for size comparison, the PLZDOT is actually by far the smallest here. I guess not by far. It's relatively comparable to the MZB, but much smaller than Mattel. Way smaller than Commonwealth Collectible Figurine. And a fair bit smaller than K'NEX. Only thing is, these ones can stand on their own. All of them can. While the PLZDOT cannot. But what the others do not have is the ability to come in 3, unless you buy the King Pig's Castle set back there. Which, that is a lovely element of that set, but let's put these back here. Once again, they're not going to stand. They'll just roll back there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Chuck figure. So let's go ahead and grab him from back here. So here is your PLZDOT Chuck. And right away, I am impressed yet again. I think because these are all hard plastic, they can do pretty nice thin molding for the head and tail feathers on these guys. Looks very nice on Chuck here. And once again, this underbelly piece, I mean, if this is an actual separate piece and not a paint application, that's cool. But if it is a paint application, I mean, that's great. So sharp, doesn't bleed into any of the yellow area or anything like that, but pretty sure it's a separate piece. Same with the beak. Eye details, printed, once again. Just the shaping, it's spot on. I think you know what you're getting into when you buy these figurines out of China. They're typically amongst the highest quality things you can get out there. And for the price you pay for this whole set, I mean, this cost me $50 US before shipping. If you want to include shipping, I guess that kind of bumps it up more towards $80, but man, this isn't bad at all. So that's your PLZDOT Chuck. Here's your Commonwealth Collectible Figurine. Just like the blues looking off to the side. That detail on the underside. The way these figures are assembled, you kind of get this weird circular shape in the middle. Kind of looks a bit ugly. Plastic molding isn't great here. You got a bit of a defect down there, a bit of a blotch. Paint detailing, I mean, it's there, but it's a little bit messy. A little bit of bleeding here and there. That's why this needs to be a separate piece. That's why I don't think this is a separate piece, because you don't see any bleeding. And then the embossed detailing is really bad on the back of this one. You just have to look at Made in China on the back. But I guess if you could get rid of that, sand that down, or find some other way of just removing plastic on this and smoothing it out, I think that would look pretty nice. Get the thin detailing. These are all plastic yet again. Very comparable, honestly. The color isn't. The color is a bit, I don't know, a bit washed out on the Commonwealth Collectible Figurine. I do like the yellow on the PLZDOT compared to that. Then we have the K'NEX figure. Once again, separate elements for the eyes, eyebrows, underbelly, beak. Similar construction to the PLZDOT. With the interior. This one sits very nice on the ground, but it's got the same problem. On the back, no tail feathers, so it looks extremely weird unless you're looking at it directly straight forward or on the underside. And also with these, because they are split in construction, they do have this kind of ugly seam line down the sides, but I guess that's kind of the territory you're signing up for when you buy these construction set figures. It's the same thing with Lego, you know? And then you have the Mattel figure, the fan favorite Mattel figure. Now, because it is more of a rubbery plastic, the head feathers are a little bit less precise, a little bit less thin. They're a bit too blotchy up there, but that might be accurate to the Angry Bird universe. I don't know. The tail feathers yet again. I don't know, that's a pretty great figure. Now this one does have a little bit of a stamp on the bottom. I don't know if that's a mold code or something like that, manufacturing code, something of the sort. And you can see the paint application on this one. There's a bit of bleeding on the bottom. It's not perfect. If this was a separate piece, like on the K'NEX figure in the PLZDOT, it would look a bit better. Cross-eye look. Great figure. Now, I don't have the MZB Tiny Topper loose. I do have it in the box, but I will put a picture on the screen so you can take a look at that. Don't have it out with me for this comparison, but that one is pretty damn good as well. So once again, Chuck is quite a bit smaller than pretty much all of these options. These are small figures. You're not getting big ones here. But you shouldn't expect that. They come 5 per pack, and the packs aren't terribly expensive when you consider exchange rates and all that. So not bad. I really like the Chuck figure. I think all of them so far are doing pretty well, and they're holding their own. The blues are a little bit disappointing because you can't stand them, but Red and Chuck, no problems there. Okay, so we now have to take a look at the PLZDOT bomb. So here he is, no spot, because this is the chrome render of the character. As I said, no one's expecting the spot to appear on this guy anyways. You can see my ring light. You can kind of imagine a spot there. No. Okay. Underbelly, separate piece yet again. Kind of a darker gray color compared to the jet black that the rest of the figure is. Printed eyes. It's kind of like a thicker printing on all of these, so they kind of do appear to be 3D, but once again, I think this is a good thing in the long run. Even the wick is well detailed. They could have skimped out on that, but of course they did not. No tail feathers. Nice job there. Don't want bomb with tail feathers. Yeah, I mean, you know, very similar to the other figures in terms of construction. Looking good for bomb. And of course, it can stand as well. So for bomb, I don't have the K'NEX figure to compare to, and I don't have the MZB either. At least loose. I do have them in the background, of course. I'm not ripping open a mint box of MZB Tiny Toppers or K'NEX in order to get those figures. But we do have the Commonwealth collectible figurine here. This was never released with a spot, by the way, which is kind of interesting to me. It's a pretty early item, but I guess these didn't enter production until Yako Izalo piped up and said, hey, wait a minute, there's no spot on these. But HK101, K11. Good looking figure yet again. I mean, this is probably one of the best so far that I've seen from Commonwealth in terms of accuracy to the game. You just have a look to them. They look good together. Very stylized. And here's the Mattel. I think the eyebrows are a little bit too brown here. This could be a later release. Perhaps came from one of the multi-packs, though it is pretty hard. I think the squishier ones are from 2013. The harder, stiffer figures, take that out of context, would you, are from 2012. This could also be from Mega Fling. I believe the red and the blue were from Mega Fling. Chuck might have been as well. I think he felt a little bit softer, though, but gray underbelly, gray detailing underneath his eyes, wick, all that. I like the wick on the Commonwealth and the Mattel a little bit better than the PLZDOT. It feels a little bit too truncated here. It is circular, though. This is kind of squared off. It's the same with the Commonwealth. This is kind of like a rectangular shape. I'd have to look and see what it actually looks like in the game, but at least when you're looking at the character from the front side, it does look kind of squared off. This one kind of looks like that from the front as well, but not as much, and especially from the top view, as these guys. But I do like the eyebrow color better on these two. Definitely very red on the Commonwealth. Kind of an in-between on the PLZDOT and hit the camera, and quite brown on the Mattel. Beaks are all relatively orange colored. I think Bond's beak is supposed to be a little bit more orange compared to the other characters. And I'm glad they distinguish between the yellow up here and the orange for the beak. Wick versus the beak, right? They could have easily cheaped out and made those two the same color for cheaper manufacturing, but they did not. And you do get the gray detailing underneath the eyes on the PLZDOT as well. Just a little bit more faint, because it's not, doesn't pop out. It's not really integrated into the mold like it is on these two. Just a printed detail on the PLZDOT. So there's your PLZDOT bomb. Quite impressed. Would like a version with the spot. Would like an exploding version if we can get that too. Come on. MZB did an exploding version, and I don't have that loose as an MZB either. I have the original release, but I don't have the updated one to look at. Alright, let's get on with the Matilda. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Matilda figure now. So this is a facial expression that, at least to me, reminds me of the Mattel figure. They probably based them on the same render. So here's the Mattel, and yeah, you can see right away, I mean, these are basically just two different companies attempting to capture the same exact render. Kind of angry, determined. The Commonwealth, even the plush toy is depicted a little bit more along the lines of this, with the eyebrows slanted down the other way. A little bit happier, a little bit more cheery, a bit more neutral. This one is angry, determined, ready to take flight. So once again, you get the 2D printing for the tan feathers on her face, for the eyebrows, the eyes, and a separate piece for the underbelly feathers. Separate piece for the beak, separate piece for the tail, and separate piece for the head feathers. That's a really nice looking figure. The white is very pure, doesn't have a gray tinge to it or anything like that. Be curious to see how this thing would fare under sunlight after a long time. Prolonged sunlight, would it turn kind of a yellowish color? I would assume it would, but we'll see. I mean, actually, I won't see. Probably someone will eventually find out. I don't display these under sunlight or anything like that. It's pitch black in this room when I'm not recording a video. So, and of course she stands on her own as well. So let's take a look at the K'NEX. Here's the K'NEX figure. I think, once again, they're trying to capture the same facial expression here. This one, the facial markings are a little bit too, what do you say, piss yellow on that one. They're the correct tan color here, but they are different from the underbelly feathers on this. This is a bit darker than here. Here, they don't really match all that well either. This is looking more tan under here, though it still has a tinge of yellow-green to it as well, which I'm not exactly a fan of, but I do like how the eyebrows on this one are actually three-dimensional, or popping off. Looks really cool. Then, around back, same issue, back there. Same song and dance. Mattel, I don't know, I think this is probably one of the weaker Mattel figures. Sometimes if the mold isn't quite right, she won't stand on her own. Paint application is pretty decent here. I like how you have the implication of eyelids there coming up from the facial markings. That looks good. Yeah, I like her. Paint application on this one is actually really solid. Liking the way it looks. There's not much bleeding at all. Pretty concentric. Looking good. And then you have the little MZB tiny topper as well. This one, I think the beak is a little bit too small, but once again, for the size of the figure, this one is actually looking really good. The head feathers on this one look a little thick, but that's probably how it is in universe as well, I guess. I guess you can kind of compare it to the PLZDOT. This one actually gets, because it is using plastic and not this rubbery plastic, you do get a little bit more precise tail feathers and head feathers. Size comparison, pretty similar to the MZB, but quite a bit smaller compared to the Commonwealth. And on the Commonwealth, this one's based on the pre-chrome render. Kind of, again, you get kind of that more sad, or I don't even know. Is it sad? Is she cheery? It's kind of hard to tell. This is inquisitive. It's something like that. Factory codes. This one, I mean, the Commonwealth has the most heft of any of these all the time. The PLZDOT, though, it's not light by any means, at least relative to the size. I mean, surely the MZB is much lighter per surface area, per volume, compared to this, but this has quite a bit of weight because it is just a solid plastic piece. It's not hollow, which is nice. They could have cheaped out and made these things hollow. They did not. Very nice to see. So there is your Matilda. Okay, so let's take a look at Hal. So you might be concerned by looking at him that his beak might be a bit too... It's not top-heavy, but definitely throws off the center of gravity of this figure and makes it so he can't stand with his beak upright. And that is indeed true, but he doesn't look as bad as the Blues because he's not exactly facing the ground. He at least is still facing forward. So this figure has a kind of a matte finish to it. That's how pretty much all of them are, but it does have a gloss underbelly. Looks good on that. Beak is kind of a more orangey color compared to the yellow one. But I mean, I don't know, I guess all the beaks on these guys are fairly orange. They're not exactly yellow, but Hal definitely has a more pronounced orange beak compared to the other ones, and the shaping on this is really, really nice, how it all kind of comes to a point up front. Looking very nice, and tail and head feathers, game accurate, looking nice. They got the 4 tail feathers, 3 head feathers. The eye detailing on this one doesn't feel as thick to me as some of the other figures, so this one feels a little bit more two-dimensional from that perspective. But nice figure. And it's going to hold its own against some of the others, especially the pre-chrome Commonwealth one here, which is pretty much a disaster. This one, I mean, I guess, look, the Commonwealth ones had their style, okay? But if they were going for game accuracy, this is not it. I mean, even for comparing chrome to pre-chrome, I guess it's not like for like. It's kind of comparing apples to oranges a bit. There is a chrome version of this figure that was released later in 2012. I have that one as a keychain somewhere, but it's mint in the box. I can maybe put a picture of it on screen right now, but taking a look at the pre-chrome because that's what I have loose. Has the ring around the beak, orange-colored beak. Again, got the 3 head feathers up there, 4 tail feathers, embossed. Got the printing on the bottom. And the underbelly feathers, I mean, it's kind of comical how it almost goes to the backside of Hal. When you're looking at Hal from behind, you can still see his white underbelly feathers. So I think definitely the PLZDOT wins on that front. But I guess if you're going for stylization, the Commonwealth one is the way to go, with these eyes almost directly on the side of his head. Looks really funny. At least he's looking forward. And he can stand on his own without the beak drooping forward. So a win there. Here's the K'NEX Hal. Ignore the scuffing on mine a little bit. This is my childhood one. I do have a sealed Versus pack. It's out of frame up there somewhere. Hal's beak on this one is hollow for some reason. And he doesn't exactly stand with his beak facing up either. And again, you got the prom in the back. But this one looks really good too. I think the K'NEX ones, the K'NEX figures definitely have their own distinctive style as well. I don't think they were going for 100% game accuracy here either. And I think for what they are, they're pretty great too, with these dual molded elements and all that, separate inserted pieces. K'NEX figures are really well done. Not exactly a fan of the Mattel Hal. I think the shaping is there. I think it looks like Hal in terms of the mold. Just this green color, it's almost cactus green. It's not quite that emerald green color that we associate with Hal. And the paint application here isn't great either. It doesn't go all the way to the back. Not great on the underside either. But, I mean, tail feathers, head feathers look good. Beak has nice shaping. Perhaps a little bit too glossy. It should look a little bit more matte. You can see the reflection of my ring light. The body definitely has more of a matte finish to it. So I don't know. Mixed feelings on this one. Of course, it's an infamous figure, only coming in the Happy Holidays game as well as Super Colossal Build-Up / Deluxe. And then there is no MZB Tiny Topper for Hal. But PLZDOT, Man, this thing's looking real nice, I tell ya. And it's going to be the smallest in terms of scale compared to the others. Hal's scale is a bit ambiguous. I think it varies depending on what render, what artwork you're looking at from the Angry Birds universe, but he's definitely more of kind of like a red size character, excluding the beak. The beak is what makes him tricky to make as a size-accurate figure, but I think PLZDOT, not bad. It's like right next to the red. I mean, this feels right to me. A little bit smaller than red, but relatively the same height. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, let's throw him back there. Alright, let's take a look at Terrence. Okay. Taking a look at the Terrence figure. So the Terrence figure, yeah, this is what I want to see. More pronounced underbelly feathers. Now, I wish they could do this on the red and some of the other figures as well, but you don't really see that in the game. This is definitely something that's pretty distinct to Terrence in terms of his in-game appearance. And you get the game-accurate, darker feather spots, a lot more towards his right side, our left, less so up here, but got one up there. And you get his little wrinkles, which this is something that Commonwealth did on the plush as well. You even get it around back. Little tiny tail. And then, if you're wondering for size comparison, he's definitely the biggest character, but I wouldn't call this size accurate necessarily. So, if you're looking for size accuracy, I don't think this Terrence is going to do it for you. Just in my personal opinion. But on its own, looking really good, and it's still represented as a bigger character compared to the others. I'd like to see them do Bubbles in a second series, see how big he ends up being. And hopefully they keep the scale constant. I would assume they would. So let's take a look at the Commonwealth. Now the Commonwealth Terrence, this is the best Commonwealth collectible figurine. Hands down, you can't argue it. Maybe the pig's pretty nice too, but paint application on mine is very nice. It does have the pronounced underbelly, and all these darker feather spots are molded into the figure itself. I mean, it's not dual molded, these are still printed, but the paint application, the printing is very nice on these, and they feel separate because it allows, by integrating these into the mold, you get these little crevices around there that pronounce them even more. And I'd say, the darker feather spots, they're pretty similar, but just slightly different interpretation. Maybe this is pre-chrome, this is chrome, I don't know. I don't think there's supposed to be a difference, but I like the face on this guy. I like his detailing around back, underneath his eyes. That's great. This is such a great figure. Small little tail around back. And then, let's see. Next to each other, quite small. And you can see the issue with the Commonwealth collectible figurine Terrence is that he's not big enough either. Here's Hal. This is not size accurate at all. He is depicted as a little bit bigger, but still not big enough. And then the Connects Terrence, this one is pretty rare, especially the Space Terrence if you want that one. But this one came in the Break and Bacon set. This one does not have the issue around back because they made a special slingshot just for this guy because he is so big. They took that into account. This one has nice detailing up front, but around back you get absolutely nothing besides the tail. You still get the little embossed licensing jargon back there. Construction, this guy is pretty much all hard plastic. He's not rubbery like some of the other figures, but this one, just because it doesn't have that silly extruded cut around back, this is probably the best Connects figure, right? So Terrence wins in multiple different categories here, and the Mattel figure is pretty nice too. Excuse a little bit of defects on mine. This one is my childhood one. This one's from Mega Fling. Looking pretty good. Paint application isn't great on this one. This one's always had an issue with its beak. You can just see a little bit red between the eyes and there. And no detailing around back, really. Just kind of up front. But you do have the wrinkles integrated into the mold on this one, and not just printed, so that's pretty nice to see. Not bad. But definitely, I think the worst of all of these. And there is no tiny topper. But the PLZDOT, look at this. That's great. I think the eyes look a little bit off, maybe. Maybe the beak needs to be just a little bit higher up or a little bit bigger. One of the two. But this one, the detailing, it's all there. It's all there. Now, to me, I mean, the Commonwealth still wins. I mean, compare. I think the Kinect's actually beats the Commonwealth out in terms of size on this one. So Kinect's doing a really good job in terms of the size accuracy. Mattel, decent job. I don't know. Not as good. Pretty similar execution to PLZDOT. PLZDOT Terrence, yet again, another winner. Just getting into some of the size accuracy concerns with some of these figures. But again, we're nitpicking. These are all fantastic so far. And so now we have to get on with the pigs. And let's start with the Minion pigs. Okay, so for these, I'm going to try and go a little bit more rapid fire on these because the mold is going to be shared across all of them. It's just that the printing is going to be a bit different. So let's start with what they consider to be kind of the standard pig. So here he is. He just got 3 teeth down there, kind of looking off to the side a little bit. There's no tail around back. I would like a tail. I think we've seen multiple times that the pigs are supposed to have tails around back, and this is something that companies keep omitting for some reason. The snout, yeah, these are, okay, this is integrated into the mold. There's actually recessed a little bit into the mold here, so that way they can print in there, and it doesn't look like it's just a flat snout. Looking very nice. Of course, this main snout structure itself was obviously extruded out, but it's the nostrils themselves that are cut out a little bit. Oh, that's nice. That's real nice. And you even get a little bit of detailing inside the ears. So this is your standard pig, as they would consider it. I'm just going to grab them as we go here. Here is the scared pig. I like how these are all based on appearances and renders from the game, sprites from the game. This looks really good. Got the 3 teeth. They were consistent about that, which is nice. Around back, no tail again on this one. Eyebrow detailing. This one looking straight on. This one, yeah, I like him. I like him. Okay, let's see. Well, we got this pig. This is the one that I would consider to be the neutral pig. This is kind of like your Ross type. The paint application on this one looks like we got a bit of bleeding right here. So that's not great. I guess just misfired a little bit on that one. But the mouth looking good. Eyes. Got that dopey look. I would just like to see a neutral pig with no mouth detailing. That'd be nice. But it is what it is. And I'm not complaining about the variety that we're getting here. This is great. Especially these damaged pigs. These injured, bruised. I mean, we don't get this at all in Angry Bird merchandise. You saw it a little bit with MZB and some of their products, but this is pretty much the first time we're seeing that, this outside of that. You even get a little bit of a bruise up here. Wow. I mean, I like the color of that too. The pink eye, purple eye, game accurate, and the tongue on these. So here are the 2 injured pigs. You can see the difference in the printing of the tongue. This one facing outward, this one facing downward. And I've only just noticed that the bruise on their forehead is also different. This one almost looks like as if it's double printed, but I don't think that's supposed to be the case. It almost kind of looks like that. So interesting they made this distinction between these two. Huh. The 2 bruised eyes and all that. And then there's also the one over here which has only 1 eye with the pink eye. He looks a little bit more like the standard pig, just with that open mouth smile with the 3 teeth. Looking very dandy. I'm liking the Minion pigs, I tell you, but the only problem I have with the Minion pigs is the color. This is not the color of the pigs to me. When you see them in the game, they are not this dark green. It's again like a cactus green color. I'm not exactly a fan of that, and you can especially see that when you compare it to the other options. You have the pre-chrome Commonwealth collectible figurine here. This one is perfect. You got the different color on the snout, which makes it a little bit more pronounced. Great paint application on this one. Quite simple. No tail around back on these guys either, but look at that. I mean, come on. Is that not pre-chrome? That is the definition of pre-chrome. It looks great. You even got a mouth molded onto this one, which that looks good. Then you have the Kinects, which also looks amazing. If it weren't for this little seam line, they're constructed top to bottom, unlike the birds, which are side to side. Just kind of fit like that. Different separate pieces for the eyes, and of course in this one you have the distinction on the snout as well, which is nice to see, and you don't get that on the PLZDOT. It's all just one color. So I like that here. And the color is pretty much identical to the Commonwealth. And it's the same with the Mattel. So this is a 2013 Mattel. The 2012 Mattel pigs don't look as good to me. They look a little bit too snot green. The 2013 ones look far better to me. Paint application is nice. You don't get the distinction on the snout in terms of paint application, but looks good nonetheless. You do get the detailing inside the snout, just not on the surface. Eyes are looking pretty good. A little bit of bleeding out in the sides, but pretty consistent. Mine has a little scuff on the back. No tail. You know. There's also versions that do have that code on the bottom. And then there's also for Kinects, there is a small minion pig as well. Basically just a shrunken down version of the larger one. And then for MZB, there's this little guy, which this one does get a distinction on the snout as well. It is a kind of even more bright green color, more of a yellowish green compared to the body, which is super nice to see on a figure this small. Even the eyebrows are detailed in on this one. They didn't have to do that on a figure so small. I don't even know how they got the paint application to be that good. It's great. I mean, again, no tail though. But you can get detailing on the ears as well. That's a good looking one. Though by far the smallest. So compared to the PLZDOT pigs, I don't know. I mean, you tell me. These are definitely looking more Slingshot Stories-esque, which is not a good thing. Man, I absolutely despise that art style. I don't want to be reminded of that show when I look at these. I just want to see chrome. And if they were the correct color, I wouldn't have that issue. So, that's a bit of a shame, if you ask me. But they do display nicely, and they do look good on their own. The mold is great. I just wish we got a bit of a distinction with the snout. It is a separate piece. They could have done that. They could have printed something on the surface, but they did not. But it would look a little bit weird with this color green. I don't think... I mean, if the Slingshot Stories look was what they were going for, okay, fine. I mean, I guess it's accurate, but to me, they're going for a chrome look here. So I don't really understand the decision to use this particular color for these guys, but it's what it is. And gotta deal with it, right? And they still look good, so I'm not terribly bothered. Okay, now let's try and reorient these back here if I can. There we go. Okay, so I believe it is now time we take a look at the mustache pigs, or the foreman pigs, as distinguished gentlemen might call them. So before we get on with the mustache pig, though, I would like to point out that there is no helmet pig, or corporal pig, as some might call him. There is, in fact, a Kinects helmet pig, with the eyebrows printed onto the helmet, so the way this guy works, he's just a standard minion pig, but he does have the separate piece that you can attach to the ears. Does have dual molding, looking very, very nice. And then Mattel pulled the same shtick. You got the minion pig, standard part, standard mold, and then you just have this helmet accessory, which is a singular molded plastic element, so you don't get really any detailing for the belt on this one, but still looks pretty good and is game accurate. And the reason they do this is so if you're playing the game and you happen to knock this pig down and the helmet falls off, you get extra points, right? And then even MZB stepped in there with a little tiny topper, which has the distinction for the snout, like the minion pig did as well. And this one is very accurate to the chrome render, with the eyes actually going over and onto the helmet there. with eyebrows as well. The only thing is you don't get the separate detailing for the belt on this one either, on the helmet itself. But that one looks really good for how small the figure is. So you don't get any PLZDOT that's like that, but they could easily introduce a helmet accessory and you could fit it onto your minion pigs. Or they could just make a helmet pig figure on its own with a pig that has a molded helmet. I think that would look pretty good as well. Okay, so carrying on to the mustache pig. Here we have the, guess what they're going to call is the neutral render, neutral depiction of the character. I don't know, I mean those teeth down there aren't exactly giving me the mustache pig vibes, but I know there are renders out there where they do show this, but I would rather that area was just blank. I think it would look better if it were like that. I think the mold on this is really nice, though. He has that kind of squatted, kind of dumpling look to him a little bit. And the mustache is, of course, a separate molded plastic element. Snout looks very good. Kind of has those bean-shaped nostrils to him. And the eyebrow colors, which are the correct color, and the purple bags under his eyes. Looking very nice. And compared to the other one, same techniques used on this guy, just with different printing, different mouth underneath, looking like he's in peril. That pink eye over there, the other eye looks pretty much the same on both of them. From that angle, you can almost say they're the same figure. But over here and under here, you can see, yeah, clearly quite different. So I like how we're getting two. I would prefer if we got more than this, and I would prefer if we got a helmet pig as well, but what are you going to do? At least we got mustache pig, right? And of course, the other toy companies did him as well as his own separate figure, because he is quite distinctive. You have the Mattel. Take a look at the connects in a second, but the Mattel one is quite nice. I like the paint application on this one too. I think this one might be dual molded, the way the paint is applied here, unless it's just that good. Eyebrows, well done. This one is a 2013 figure. This one probably came from the 3-pack with Bubbles and Bomb. That little code in the bottom. Yeah, I do quite like the Mattel. And you also have the Connects, which also looks great. And another thing about the Connects one, too, is that you can actually take off the mustache. Oh, yeah. There you go. Mustache is its own separate piece. So you can get whatever this curse thing is. Yeah. And then he has some of the same details that the Minion Pigs had with the separately printed snout. Got the eye bags. Yeah. And he is by far the biggest. I mean, I don't know. I think Mustache Pig is supposed to be a pretty big pig, but I don't think he's supposed to be as big as the Connects figure depicts him to be. The Mattel is probably more in line with the game. And this guy is the same size as the Minion Pig figures. So this is probably a bit too small. In fact, he almost looks smaller than the Minion Pig because of his shape. So, once again, not exactly great in terms of size accuracy, but I'm liking the figures on their own. They look good. Put them back there. So obviously, and hold on. Almost forgot, we have the MZB Tiny Topper as well. This one looks a little funny to me. Almost look like he, you can see his teeth under there, right? Almost looks like he's got a mischievous look to him a bit. His mustache, though, is very well detailed. You can even see, like, it's almost like you can see the individual hairs. The way that's molded onto the figure. Yeah, I'm liking that one. And the snout, again, with this different color green on as well to make it so it stands out from the body. Yeah. And once again, with the PLZDOT, you don't get the game-accurate color either, which is another issue, which applies to all the pigs, evidently. Alright, so let's move on to the King Pig, who has some pretty cool rarity variants, but for the basic ones, we just got 4. Here is the Happy King Pig. That big grin down there. This is a pretty iconic look for the character. And a separate molded piece for the crown with, when I take it, as little blue prints up there. That looks very nice. Wish it was more gold colored, but I guess in the game it's probably a little bit more like the yellow color we see here. Again, gold in the game is depicted as more of a yellow color rather than a straight up metallic gold. No tail around back. There's a little bit of a molding defect on this one. That's a kind of a area where the paint got doubled up a little bit. But he's looking good. I quite like the king pig. He's probably my favorite of the pigs, but once again, in the size accuracy department, I'm feeling like he's a little small. Definitely think he should be a little bit bigger than what he is. He's definitely bigger than the minion pig, but it's not by much. And it's not like you're going to see that changing with these other figures. Here's the injured king pig. The two pink eyes, tongue sticking out. And what I like about what they did with these guys, oh wow, they even did this too. The crown is not only damaged, you can see the spikes are all cockeyed and facing different directions. There's an indentation on the crown. Some of the jewels are even missing too. That is quite well done. How about that? His eyes feel a bit 3D, almost as if this one's molded. So they make it so the eyes are a little bit more pronounced. Not as flat as on that Hal figure. The Hal figure has by far the most flat eyes to me. Alright, here is another injured king pig. Similar crown, but it's not exactly the same. Bit of a different damage model on that one, I guess. And he's looking quite cheery yet again. I don't know, one of the best king pig figures. I mean, it's not like you have many king pig options out there. Just saying, because Mattel didn't do it. They did an Activity figure, but not one that scales with the game all that well. And here is the sad king pig, and I think this one's my favorite because I don't think we've ever seen merchandise of this guy. He's rarely used ever. I mean, he's in the game as in the king pig mode with the Activity figure yet again. But here he is as an actual piece of merchandise. This is awesome to see. I love that little tear. Probably could be a little bit more towards the eye, but I'd have to compare to the render. Got the mouth, the sad face. You can see a little bit of detailing on his chin. His crown is nice and intact. He's not bruised up here. You can compare him to the regular king pig here. I dub these two the king pig mode, Activity mode, king pig figures. These are super sweet. I like them. Neat little pair. And speaking of the Activity figure, I do have that out for comparison. I don't know if this is really a fair comparison. This one is deliberately kind of wonky, but it does look like king pig. It's actually quite a nice mold if you discount the base of the figure, I guess. So this is your Mattel interpretation, I guess. The K'NEX is very nice. Very, very nice. This one is nice and big. He scales very well with some of the other figures. I think K'NEX did probably the best job with the scaling, if we're talking about that. Oh, how about that? I believe there is a Commonwealth collectible figurine king pig as well. It's not directly in the Commonwealth collectible figurine line necessarily. It was done as a Christmas ornament, which I believe I do have that somewhere. I could probably pull that out and edit that in post, but you can see what that compares like to the PLZDOT. Then you also have the little MZB, which is also looking pretty nice. He has green jewels on his crown, so perhaps an emerald crown, I guess. I guess they cheaped out on the amount of printing they could do on this one. They didn't want to do another pass on the crown to give the blue jewels, but we got green, so I guess this could potentially be interpreted as a different king pig. This is not the smooth cheeks, if people want to talk about the lineage of the king pigs, but PLZDOTs are looking very nice, and they hold their own for sure. Not going to complain about them. I think the color, too, even looks a little bit different than the minion pigs. Might just be me. Yeah, it might just be me. But I feel like in person this looks a little bit lighter, a little bit more pale than the minion pigs. But that could also be variation in the paint application. Because you do get that with manufacturing. Just happens. Okay, so those are all of the classic figurines. I think we're going to try and go a little bit more rapid fire on the special ones because they are the same molds, they're just recolored. We'll spend a little bit more time on the frozen ones because they're the ones you guys want to see, right? Alright, let's get on with that. So we're going to try and go a little bit more rapid fire on some of the gold figures because I think we've been here long enough, right? So let's see. I want to take a look at the red one first, right? So here we go. Let's take him out of the bag. So here is the golden red figure. So pretty much identical to the standard red, but interesting to point out that you don't get any of the facial markings on this one. And the pupils are a little bit smaller. Very interesting. The underbelly, the tail feathers, I mean, it's just a straight up pure gold. It's quite nice. I don't like the seam line on this one. It's a little bit too pronounced on this guy. So a little bit more flush like it is on the standard figure. There's your gold red. Get him back in his bag. I think I've showed how to open these. They have a little section on them that you can just rip right open. Just like that. And here are the golden blues. Once again, the gap looks a little bit too pronounced on the gold figures, but it's still looking pretty good, I tell you. And see if I can get all three open here. And then off camera real quick, see if I can do this fast. Alright, here they are. The golden blues. Wonder what these would be significant of in the game. Huh? These have any in-universe canonical explanation? I mean, I guess Golden King Pig technically exists in the classic universe. He's in Angry Birds Classic as a golden egg, as the workaround to the activity mode. If you 3-star every level, right? Alright. Let's get on with Chuck. Open him up real quick. Here is the golden Chuck. Doesn't look too dissimilar to the regular Chuck. He's already yellow as is, but looking quite nice here as well. Hope the paint chipping on these isn't too bad. I'm going to try and keep them in the best shape I can. Not like I'm playing with these or anything like that. They're just going to go up on display, and they're going to look all nice and dandy. So they're definitely some of my favorite Angry Bird figures ever made. And they're worthy of comparison to some of those classic figures that we've been looking at. For sure. Okay, let's take a look at Bomb. Golden Bomb. So here he is. I feel like the wick needs something here. Just looks like someone snipped off his part of his wick up there, his topmost feather, eh? I don't know, the gold figures don't look nearly as impressive to me. They seem like a little bit of a gimmick. They don't seem as high quality as the figures in the background that we've already looked at. Definitely the classic figures are the way to go if you just want something for presentation, but I guess from a collectability standpoint, you do want something that's a little bit more limited. But then again, you were getting, one of these in every single pack, so I don't know, how limited are they really? Gold implies that they're supposed to be the rarest, right? But I guess not. Okay, here is the Matilda. Yeah, the Matilda's looking pretty nice. Just, again, this gap here. This doesn't look as pronounced on the regular figures. It looks a little bit too nasty on these, in my opinion, but, what are you going to do? They're a neat little novelty, I guess. Then let's see about Hal. Hal, as a classic figure, was in a bag that wasn't sealed. The gold one is in a bag that is sealed. Wonder why they did that. It almost looks as if the paint here needs another layer or two or something like that, but that could just be me. There's your golden Hal. How about the golden Terrence? Now this one, you don't get any of the details on him. Any of the wrinkles or the darker feather spots. That is pretty weak sauce to me, if you ask me. I don't know. Going off the rails at the end of this video here. And then we have, we're taking a look at it next. The Minion Pig. Now this one, I wish this is how the standard one looked. It has no mouth printing. Just plain old minion pig. This is proper. I think the gold works a little bit better for the pigs. Feels just a little bit more fitting for them. Considering I probably associate these guys with golden eggs a little bit more than I do with the birds, but that's quite neat. And they don't look as off because they don't have any of that feather detailing that some of the birds have. Okay, let's take a look at the mustache pig. And once again, this is how I wish the standard figure looked. Just no mouth printing. Quite simple. It's definitely simpler printing on these guys, and whether that's intentional or not, it works for the pigs. It does not work for the birds. That golden mustache there. I just wish some of these elements, like the mustache and this guy, or some of the beaks, maybe you can leave that the original color. I don't know. Having it as a pure gold figure, is this something that's kind of a novelty in China gimmick? I don't know. I don't live in China. Evidently, I don't. Okay, let's take a look at the king pig. Now this one, too, I wish there was a figure that looked more like this, where it's just a neutral king pig with no mouth printing. Now, this is the best one. This is the best of the gold figures because it looks pretty much like the icon in the game for the golden egg. Though if it did have the open mouth, it would be perfect in this instance, so maybe that's a negative on this one. If you're looking for game accuracy. I wish they printed on the jewels on this one. That would give this a little bit of pop. It just needs a secondary color, in my opinion. This like darker gold color for inside the snout and on the ears. I mean, that's not it. Need a little bit more. Oh, there he goes. Cool. Then we have, this is an injured king pig. The two bruised eyes, almost looks as if he's sleeping. But you can see the damaged crown up there. So evidently this is a injured golden king pig. I don't know how much else to show with that one. Then you have the last of the golden figures. You have this other king pig. I don't know why the king pig is dominating over the rarity figures, but it's what they did, I guess. I guess King Pig has his own little special aura because he already has the gold crown and all that. And the pigs seem to be the most prevalent of the bunch, so just would like to see more minion pigs. I mean, that makes sense to me. It's kind of a hybrid of the other one. He's got the crown from the half-injured King Pig standard figure. He's got the injured eye and the open eye from the other two variants. Once again, very cool though. I'm not exactly a fan of the gold figures, if you can't tell. They're not exactly the coolest gimmick I've ever seen. Feels like they could have done something a little bit nicer in that. New molds, not the pre-existing molds, but with less detailing and just metallic gold paint. That's not exactly what I'm looking for in an Angry Bird figure, but from a collectability standpoint, I guess I appreciated it, and they're cool to have, I guess. So, but let's move on to the best figures in the whole set, which are the frozen pigs. So, let's take a look at them. Am I really about to defile these perfectly mint, sealed-in-bag PLZDOT frozen pig figures just for a silly YouTube video? Well, of course I am. Well, actually, it's not of course I am. I'm very sad I'm opening these. I would love to keep these sealed in the bag, but, you know, what are you going to do? I need content, right? That's what you guys are here to see. So we have frozen minion pig. Oh, buddy. Check this little guy out. He's got that scared face. I wonder why they didn't just go for the neutral face, but I guess if you're being flung out and ejected into the atmosphere, you would be scared as well. I love the color on these guys. It almost does look semi-transparent. There's something to it. Couldn't quite tell you. Oh, it's so great, though. It's exactly the same as the scared minion pig from before. He just has some detailing around his eye sockets on this one, which is quite nice. And I think his eyebrows, are they a little bit thicker on the frozen ones? So kind of be like snowed over with icicles. There's a little bit of implication on that. I think on this one, the contrasting snout comes off a little bit better on this, because it's just a slightly different blue than the main body. And I think that is what the rest of the pigs should be looking like. Oh, he's great. Oh, these are going to be great. Can't wait. And then, for comparison's sake, I do have the MZB Tiny Topper. There is a Mattel figure, there is a K'NEX figure. I do have the K'NEX figure, it's sealed in the box. And the Mattel figure, well, you Mattel collectors have totally ruined the eBay market on that one. Not that I have no blame in that one for selling Mattel games at very high prices on eBay, but hey, the Mattel children keep buying, so, what do you want me to do? Not sell Mattel games for exorbitant prices? Of course I'm going to take advantage of that. And you can as well. If you own these rare things, you have every right to sell them for whatever you want. If someone's going to buy it, why not? Here is the Mustachio Pig. The mouth underneath. Bruise on this side. Snowed over eyes. Contrasting color for the mustache and snout. What a great looking figure, eh? There's like something weird going on in the back of all these as well. Not exactly sure what this is. I don't know if you can kind of see into the mold a little bit maybe. Something about the semi-transparent plastic that's on these. And then I also have the little MZB Tiny Topper as well, which is identical to the one that we looked at before. Same with the Minion Pig. Just you have that transparent mold on these guys, which I don't think I mentioned before, but these guys are truly transparent, more translucent. It's a little bit foggy. It's not like they're crystal clear, but man, that looks really good on these guys. That's something I've always appreciated about these. And these were a rarity too in those sets as well, because they were the blind box that came in the Tiny Topper packs as well. At least for the space ones. Okay, then let's take a look at the King Pigs. So we have King Pig number uno here, number 1, and the crown on these guys is transparent, translucent. I mean, it's not crystal clear, but man, that's looking good. That is looking real nice. Once again, another really happy fellow. He doesn't seem to have that, a little bit. You can kind of see it a little bit there, but seem to have that weird defect on the back like the previous two did. I'm liking him, though. And that crown is absolutely fantastic. Just the mold on it alone, but making it transparent, doing pretty good on that one. Okay. Him away. Okay, let's take a look at the Happy King Pig. So there he is. Again, just pretty much a straight-up recolor of the King Pigs that we've looked at before, but looking especially good here. It has that, once again, back here. Just a bit of a paint defect, mold defect. I don't know. Whatever's going on back here. You can see that, but displays nicely from the front. In the bottom, you can see it a little bit, but it's especially apparent around back. There's just this little area right here where you got some swirling. And it's not the ring light either. Don't look at the ring light. Look at the plastic itself. I love how the crown has that kind of green hue to it as well. That's what happens when you tinge yellow with a coat of blue frost, I suppose. Get that kind of look. And then the final figure is the immensely injured King Pig, Frozen King Pig. It kind of doesn't really make much sense when you think about it. I mean, there's really only supposed to be one expression for the frozen pigs where they're just kind of shocked with icicles hanging down. I wish these had that. These are a little bit lazy in just that they're recolors of the classic pigs, but, I mean, they'll do. They will certainly do. I mean, Commonwealth didn't do a much better job on their samples outside of the one Minion Pig, which is amazing, by the way, and is the best interpretation of a frozen pig in merchandise, in my opinion. Though the Mattel ones are pretty nice, and the K'NEX ones are really nice, too. What's interesting about K'NEX, they didn't make a frozen mustache pig, that I recall. They did make a frozen Big Bork. You will probably know him as Fat Pig. But this one has a bit of the defect around back too. Here's the MZB. Mine's missing a bit of an ear. I have 2 of these, and both of them are missing an ear, so I guess I was prone to coming off easily. But once again, just a transparent recolor of the standard updated Minion Pig figure, but that one's looking pretty nice. So let's cut to Disembodied Me for the conclusion and wrap up, and I'll give my final thoughts on all of these. And while I'm sitting here live, I can just tell you, these things are fantastic. Fantastico. I mean, some of the chases, these rarities, they're a little lazy in my opinion, but certainly the regular figures, they're pretty damn nice, and they hold up well compared to the competition, as it seems. And if you're interested in some modern-day Angry Bird figurines, I'm guessing you're going to want these. So anyways, cut to Disembodied Me. We'll wrap things up. You've got to hand it to PLZDOT. They did a cracking job in this set, holding their own against the likes of Commonwealth, K'NEX, Mattel, and MZB. And while there are certainly other figures that we could compare to today, really the focus was on the new set in town. They for sure get the Maximus seal of approval. Sharp, precise prints, faithful molds, and great selection. Just be careful where you buy them and how you buy them, and pray for a Series 2. Would love to see them tackle Space and Seasons, right? And of course, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Would love to hear your thoughts and rankings. And with that said, if you have any comments, questions, or complaints, you can let me know in the comment section below. And with that I say, peace out.